All right, we all saw this coming, right? Steve Nash, the first domino to drop in Brooklyn. We remember in the summer, KD, Kyrie, they wanted him out after they welcomed him in, and it was kind of their hand-picked coach. We don't have to get into that. We know the shit show that this has been. I think the real headline is they're finalizing a deal with Ime Udoka. Look, man, people mess up. People do things. It just seems weird, man. Like, I get it. He was on Nash's bench, I guess, for one season. And what it sounds like is Durant and Kyrie, these guys are like, hey, bring him in. We want him now, as if their choices have worked out following their way. It just doesn't make sense. What he did in Boston, we don't know the details, but what we do know is that it was bad enough where they had to get him all the way out, right? And so you have to kind of question his character and handling of things off the basketball court. And that's the biggest problem with Brooklyn, handling the social dynamic, the stars, the egos, the locker room. So yeah, he has familiarity. He has success in the NBA in a brief time, but in a organization that's just been a disaster, you bring in a guy with all this baggage. It just doesn't make sense to me, man. I'm happy for Nash. I don't, he deserves some blame. His coaching X's and O's and things weren't great, but he also never really had a chance anyway, right? With the pressure and the egos and dynamic of that roster. But he did some suspect things. I remember a couple games ago, Richard Jefferson on the call, there was a stoppage. I think there was a challenge, like a referee stoppage. It ends, and then Nash takes a timeout. And RJ's like, bro, didn't you just set up what you wanted to do in the challenge? So there's these little things where he deserves some blame for just not having the experience. But ultimately, I think he's probably glad to be out of there. We'll see if Udo comes in. It's going to continue, man. It's going to continue. What's the next domino to fall? I don't know. I guess it's going to start to be roster pieces. Or do they suspend Kyrie? Does he get on his Kanye tip and just kind of ride off, just do it to himself? But it's funny because you look around the league right now and you say, all right, Pacers, who else? There's not a lot. Charlotte is overperforming right now, right? But there's less than a handful of teams. OKC, but they're not really, they're where you're like, all right, who could we get off their roster because they're not trying to compete this year, right? And it's early on. The Spurs are overachieving, right? But the irony is it going to be Brooklyn that you're going to part out like a totaled vehicle, right? Because I don't know, man. I don't like the hiring, and I'm not here to say that Udo doesn't deserve another chance eventually, but this soon, stepping into this situation, it just seems like pouring gas on the fire. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.